People ask all the time, how much does it cost to install a Coyote? I get that email at least 10 times a week. Everybody wants to know. And so you can easily get up to Hey guys, Jason, Fender Garage in Gilbert, Arizona, and we have a pretty awesome F-150 Ford Ranger XLT. We just finished this truck up and we're about ready to ship it out of here, so I wanted to talk about this truck and all the things that we've done. So when you first look at this truck, this looks like an old truck. We kind of called it Charlie Brown here at our shop. I think the owner calls it Old Brown, but just kind of a nice, cool, vintage, classic, dent side truck. And just very vintage looking, but the whole thing has completely been gone through. The rear end, all the brake system, all the electrical, everything has been completely gone through. We tried to keep it looking like an original truck to keep that classic feel, and we did a lot of cool upgrades on it. Let me show you inside what we did. So we kind of cleaned up the interior. We put some new loop style carpet, redid the bench seat, redid some of the trim on the dash. It's got new gauges. It's got all the good stuff. We kind of left the customers old CB radio and a few different little things. And so we got Dakota Digital HDX gauges. We got Restomod air conditioning. We've got the retro sound radio system, all Bluetooth. We got actually Dakota Digital key fob for lock and unlock, and give it a few modern luxuries. Cleaned it up a little bit, but the most important thing is what we did underneath the hood, which makes this truck extra special. And so I'll pop the hood and we can take a look under here and see. And basically we have done everything. We've got a brand new crate motor, 2017 Mustang GT Coyote motor is what you got here. And it's all been gone through. So basically we've got a new radiator that we have built and designed for Coyote swaps. And so this is kind of just a bolt-in plug and play. We've got brackets that we provide that allow you to place the motor just where this motor sits. So it makes it super easy. You buy our brackets, places the motor, our transmission cross member, puts the motor at the right angle. You put the radiator system in, you can buy a hose kit, and next thing you know, you've got a motor and a radiator in. We also sell Wheelwood master cylinders. We make the custom air intake, and we also make computer boxes that actually hold everything in place. And so we've tried to keep this looking as factory looking as we could. We weren't trying to like hide all the wires and make it look like a show truck. We were trying to make something that was really serviceable, easy to identify where things are at, but also try to make it look like if Ford did this in 1977 and you pop the hood, this is what it would look like. And so we kind of kept everything kind of that black and gray and silver color underneath the hood, and really subtle, and it turned out killer. We painted the firewall. We did a delete on the original factory AC box, and then we also kind of cleaned up all the inner fenders and painted them, cleaned up a lot of this other stuff, painted the radiator core support, put new wind deflectors in here so you get optimal cooling underneath. The truck looks really good and it drives really good. You've got a new Curry third member sitting in it, and the air conditioning is nice and cool. It's fun to drive. So a lot of goodies in this truck, and I wish you guys could be here to check it out and see it in person. It really looks good. But what I want to do is we're going to go for a ride. We're going to jump in it and go cruising for a little bit. We'll talk about some of the additional features and what it feels like and how much power it's got. Again, 1977 F-150 XLT, awesome truck. I'm super stoked, and let's go cruising. All right, so here we are. We're ready to go cruising. Basically it's pretty comfortable in here. There's plenty of room. We got the old seat belts in here, but in 1977 they were just kind of getting a lot of the good creature features of a 3-point seat belt and all that kind of stuff. And it is original as we could possibly keep it in here. We didn't want to, make everything super modern. So, but anyways, like all Coyotes, you turn the key and it starts right up, which is the best part about this. So we've got Dakota Digital gauges in here. So you've got the 2-window display. We've got the retro sound radio, the AC controls, and we've got, most importantly, we've got the Coyote motor. And so let's go for a cruise, and we'll go have a good time. So this is kind of a big truck. It's a long bed. You know, you've got a little bit heavier duty suspension on it. On the F-150, it was a little bit heavier duty than some of the F-100s they were doing, and so made to haul a little bit more with the long bed. It's got a little stiffer suspension, and with the twin I-beams, you know, that was kind of a pretty modern suspension back in the day, and Ford stuck with it for a pretty long time, but they definitely moved away from it and improved. But it actually still works pretty good. It's comfortable, like, you know, it still cruises pretty well, and you can have a pretty good time with it. You know, we basically using a little bit smaller diameter brake booster than what the factory may have installed in here, and so it's a dual diaphragm, and it seems to work pretty well. You get your brakes adjusted correctly and use a good master cylinder, and it usually works pretty well. The brakes feel really good, and it definitely stops pretty easily. So we'll do a little bit more cruising and kind of, you know, show off a little bit of what the Coyote can do. It's pretty fun. It's you know, got plenty of power, and you know, with it, it's a little bit hot in here. We'll try to turn the AC on so we can enjoy a little bit of cool air. You got multiple fan speeds with the Resto Mod Air, and you know, we're using the compressor off the Coyote motor, and so we're, you know, pretty cold. So roughly, as far as gauges go, I mean, you're going to charge right around 14.5 volts, 15 volts, not uncommon, and you're probably going to run right around 195, 200 degrees, 210, not uncommon as far as temperatures go. If you really want to go fast in it, you can redline these things right around 7,500 RPMs if you choose to get going that fast, and that's fast. You're really cruising, and in something like this, you're in good suspension, but you're definitely not in suspension that can handle, you know, 100 and 140 miles an hour. I have been 130 miles an hour in this thing in the early days when we were doing some tuning, but I just did that one time, and that was fast enough for me. Try to keep the exhaust kind of quiet, not super loud, because it definitely is loud with these Coyote motors. If you don't control them, they can be super loud and obnoxious. And so we use like a Borla XR1 racing muffler with a resonator on this particular setup. We tried one of those Borla crate motor mufflers, and it sounded like a race car Mustang, and honestly, it was just really way too loud. So we've used some Magnaflows, and they sound pretty good too, and that's pretty much about it. But we'll didn't take long to get to about 90 miles an hour, so we'll slow down. Going over a little overpass, and we chirped in third gear, so a lot of power there. I do like these dent sides. There's a little bit more room right here. Sometimes I get into these older trucks, and they're really kind of a little bit closer, and so you kind of, you know, ride like that, and you can be a little tough. I get criticized sometimes if I drive with my arm on the steering wheel. That seems like everybody likes to complain about that. Sometimes I do that just for comfort, but also sometimes I feel too close, and I, you know, but with these dent sides, I feel a little bit more comfortable, and you can grip the steering wheel and it feels comfortable. This is the original 1977 steering wheel. Not in too bad a shape, but we'll make a turn here. But really, I don't know what more you could want in a truck. A classic, you can go anywhere and do anything and just kind of really enjoy it. So the fuel system on this thing, with the 73, this is 79, that dent side era, they used a filler door on the side of the bed. That was kind of the first time they started doing that. Before the 67, 72s, they actually had it behind the seat still, and so they finally wised up and said, well, we better get that out of the cab and we'll put it in the back of the bed. And so they had doors that you could access, and so sometimes you'd have you know, one or two different doors depending upon what model and what options you got. So the rear tank we use, we actually sell a tank made by Boyd Welding that actually fit perfectly. We've got an Aeromotive fuel pump and the 340, and it just mounts right in there, bolts right up, and you just mount your hoses, connect it right up, and you know, it all fit nice and perfectly. We use an Aeromotive fuel regulator with a dial indicator so we can see what kind of fuel pressure. You're always running at about 58 PSI on these things. When you're doing your fuel system and you're not supercharged, you don't really have to hook up the vacuum reference, and you just want to run that without the vacuum reference. You make sure that you're always maintaining 58 PSI. Looks like some people crashed here, and that's unfortunate for them, but luckily nobody's hurt, it looks like, and we'll just move on and get out of here. So luckily we didn't get caught in that traffic. All these cars over here are going to be stuck for a while. We're going to head back to the shop and we'll do a little bit more video of kind of the outside of the truck and some of those little features and get this truck ready to ship it. It's going to be a tough one to get rid of. We've had a good time building it. We've had just a phenomenal client. The guy is just really got a super nice truck, and he'll be able to just drive anywhere he wants to go. I mean, cross country, take his family camping in the mountains and throw all the stuff in the back and have a good time, and know that you're going to get there and you've got reliability, and take your kids fishing, do whatever it is you want to do. So it's definitely not cheap. I mean, you put these Coyotes in these trucks, people ask all the time, how much does it cost to install a Coyote? I get that email at least 10 times a week. Everybody wants to know. And it's a huge variable there. And if somebody actually brought a truck to me and all it needed was just the motor and transmission and the wiring done, you might get away with it for about, you know, $25,000 by the time you buy the motor and the components. But no one has ever really brought us that truck. They usually bring us a truck that needs all the wiring redone, go through all the suspension and the brakes and get everything dialed in, redo all the brakes, all the electrical systems redone, the cooling system, the fuel system, the exhaust, the drive shaft. I mean, air conditioning, gauges. I mean, you're basically fixing window seals and components and doing interior, and so you end up doing all this stuff that doesn't have anything to do with actually putting the motor in. And so you can easily get up to $40, $50, $60, $70,000 because you're basically, a lot of times you're doing a restoration at the same time you're installing a Coyote. So pretty loaded question. Motors can range anywhere from a truck motor to about $4,500 to, if you buy brand new crate stuff and all the front runner stuff, you can spend, you know, $15,000, $16,000 pretty easily. So, you know, keep that in mind. You know, there's a huge range here, but the performance and warranty and all that stuff makes a difference. If you're gonna buy a used motor, try to get something less than 40, 50,000 miles. Make sure it hasn't been hit in the front end. It's more of a side impact, rear impact, and make sure it's gonna be something good and not too much of a problem. But anyways, we're almost back to the shop. We've had a good time driving this thing, and definitely, you know, a truck that we enjoy, but we're gone. Get out of here. See ya. The cops are coming. We gotta get out of here. Oh man. That's some pretty good stuff right there.